In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why you shouldn't buy the Canon R7. There is a bunch of videos on YouTube already telling you why you should buy the Canon R7. A lot of these YouTubers have affiliation with Canon. I don't have affiliation with anybody. Canon, Sony, Nikon, nobody. This is just my opinion and I'm trying to help you guys out by giving you some other options and some other ideas. Now I'm going to go out and say something really outrageous and I'm going to get a lot of hate for it, but I don't think you should buy an APS-C camera at all. I've said this before on the channel, the poor man pays twice. And that's exactly what most new photographers and videographers do. They rush out and they go and buy what they think is a kind of middle ground, a good deal. And that's normally an APS-C camera. They're generally at least probably $500 to $1,000 cheaper than full frame. But in a couple of years, are you gonna wanna upgrade to full frame? Are you gonna be happy with APS-C and that crop factor? That's why the poor man always pays twice. Hate's a very strong word, but it gets the clicks. So the reason why I hate this camera, first reason is it is an APS-C camera and it has that 1.6 times crop. I hate this and I hate shooting with an APS-C camera. I've done it in the past and I just really don't want to ever do it again. Some people like it and some people can manage with it. For me, I just don't like it. You have to compensate for your lens over and over again. You can't just put, a 16 or 35 on there. That 16 is no longer a 16. And what you end up doing is you end up paying a premium for wider lenses for an APS-C camera. So really you end up paying a whole bunch more just to get that wider viewing angle. It has less depth of field of what you would get with a full frame camera. It's worse in low light, so you have to keep this camera under 6400 for usable content. The 120 frames at 1080 is not that great and you don't get any audio. Dynamic range is not that good on an APS-C camera as a full frame camera. And this camera also has no all-eye, which means you can only shoot in IPB and IPB light, which means they are more compressed, a lower quality, and also harder to edit. Now, not having all-eye in the camera isn't a deal breaker, but it is pretty disappointing. IPB is compressed. It's going to be much harder for you to edit. It will be useful for stuff like social media, but I would not suggest using this camera in a real professional client scenario where they're paying you thousands of dollars to create something. I just wouldn't feel comfortable delivering something on a subpar codec. Now, there are some good things about this camera. Now, photography is one of them with that 32.5 megapixels. Now that is massive and it also is super quick. So this is great for sports photography. Now, Canon aren't marketing this camera to be for videography. So that's why I'm just highlighting the fact here that this camera was not made for videography or video or cinematography or filmmaking or anything. It's made for photographers. So there'll be a lot of YouTubers going out there saying, yeah, you can use this for video and this and that. And yeah, it's a cheaper option, but the poor man pays twice. So just have a think about in 1 to 2 years, if this is something you're gonna wanna do professionally, are you gonna be happy with an APS-C camera? And if you are, that is great. I'm just throwing this stuff out there so everybody has all the information. Now, this camera is about $1,000 cheaper than the R6, which is full frame. To me, I would just prefer to save up, pay that extra $1,000 and get the R6. Because to get an equivalent wide angle lens, that's a good wide angle lens for an APS-C camera, you're looking at some serious money as well. So you got to weigh up the options. If you really want to get those wide angles out of your APS-C camera, just do some research on what those lenses cost before you pull the trigger. So yes, this camera is for photographers and beginner filmmakers. And I say that because maybe those beginner filmmakers don't have that budget to get into filmmaking and this is their only way. And good on you, yes, buy this camera if that's all you can afford. But I'll also just add to you, have a look at the Sony line of cameras, and if you can afford to get into the Sony ecosystem as a videographer and a cinematographer, this may be a far better route for you to go, as they have a really good range of professional cameras. I'm not sponsored by Canon or Sony or anybody. This is just my opinion. Lawnmower just started. I apologize for the audio. So one of the main reasons why other YouTubers are suggesting that this is a good camera for beginners is the fact that it's got 4K 60. Now you need to weigh up if that is something that you're going to need and actually use, because if you're not going to use 4K 60, this opens up so many different cameras that you can buy that don't have 4K 60 that are full frame. You really have to decide whether you want full frame and full frame lenses and those benefits, or 4K 60, which seems everybody wants. It really depends on what you're shooting and why you want that 4K 60. So I know regardless of what I say, I'm always going to cop some hate in the comments for, you know, saying bad things about a certain camera. This is my opinion, and this is my opinion on the specs of the camera, and I think this camera's rubbish. That's not true. I'm being dramatic. If it was me, I would wait till I could afford a full frame camera. It's only an extra $1,000. With all the other equipment that you gotta buy, lenses and sound gear and tripods and lights, your camera is the main part of your system. Just be patient, just wait. Save that little bit of extra cash. The camera is an investment, and you're investing into, you know, 3, 4, 5, 10 years with this camera. Do you want to go and buy a whole other camera or a whole other camera system and have to replace all the lenses? I know I don't. I made that mistake a long time ago. And that's it for the video, guys. If you did like the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a nice comment below, please. And I'll see you in the next one.